Hi guys, tonight is the night and England is in the final against Italy. I know, I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe it. I'm sure you can't believe it too. It's been such a long time. 1966. We've waited all these years. Maybe tonight is our night. I'm sure we are all hoping that that's the case. It's interesting because in this image now, as we get it up, it says, I saw this headline which said, "The nation is behind you, Gareth Southgate, our humble leader, and his superb England squad have glory in their hands. We believe they will do it." We believe they will do it. But it's more the reference to Gareth Southgate being the humble leader. That is a phrase that has been used time and time again. Humble leader, humble manager, humble guy, humble family man. It is the things that they are saying at the moment about Gareth Southgate. And it made me wonder, why is that the case? There's a children's story about, similar to The Hare and the Tortoise, about a kangaroo and a penguin. And the kangaroo was an athletic animal who won many championships and won lots of races and was very arrogant and became nasty with the success. And he would always pick on this penguin. The penguin would waddle about and was slow, so he looked at himself and saw how great he was, and then he looked at the penguin and saw how slow this penguin waddled about on land. So he put the penguin to the test, and they had a race, and somebody set the race for them, and the race was to go up the mountain, over the mountain, and then back down. And the race started. Other animals are watching. The race has started, and the kangaroo hops up the mountain as fast as he could, and the penguin waddles behind. The kangaroo gets to the top, and he realizes that when he's at the top of the mountain, it's a crater, and it's a lake. It's just full of water, and for him, he can't get round it. For him to go to the other side, he has to swim through this lake. And so the penguin's still waddling up. The kangaroo can't swim. The penguin's waddling up. The penguin gets to the top and its eyes light up. Why? Because this is his moment. This is his time. He can swim. Penguin jumps into the water and gets across the other side of that lake as quick as anything. The kangaroo is struggling to get over. The penguin has beaten the kangaroo. And it says this in the book, and I thought this was quite interesting. "And although it seemed like the penguin was waiting to make fun of the kangaroo, the penguin had learned a lot from his suffering. And instead of ridiculing the kangaroo, he offered to teach him how to swim." To make fun of, it looked like he was waiting to make fun of the kangaroo. The penguin had learned a lot from his suffering. And instead of ridiculing the kangaroo, he offered to teach him how to swim. Just look at this image for a minute. This is the image after the 1996. We got through to the semi-finals. England got through. And I'm sure that you'll remember this point too. Gareth Southgate definitely remembers this point. He stepped up to take the penalty. It got to penalties. He stepped up to take the penalty. The atmosphere was electric. Gareth Southgate gets up. This could be our time. And he takes the penalty, and we know the rest is history. He misses. And Gareth Southgate said it wasn't so much that he was angry. He was angry with himself for a while. It wasn't so much that he was angry, but he realised how much he'd let the country down. And it hurt. And Gareth Southgate for a long time suffered at the hand of English fans, if you want, at his own ego, at the cost of his own ego and pride. Gareth Southgate suffered. That's why today Gareth Southgate is the humble manager, because he's known what it's like to suffer, and he leads his team in a completely different way as a result. You see, we're talking about humility and how to live in accordance with a humble life, a godly humble life. And you see, there are two ways of living a humble life, I think. One is that we keep on track with God and we keep inquiring of God and we keep leaning into our relationship with God. You know, the concept of the vine and the branches. Or two, we are aware of that, but we still do our own thing. And we're attracted by the glitz and the glamour of different things that draw our attention. The lust of the eyes, it draws our attention to all sorts of different things. And we come away from trusting in God, and our trust is in different elements that we can see. What is it that our eyes can see? And then we go for those things, and then at some point we will realize, because this is what God allows us to do, sometimes we will realize that that isn't fulfilling. It's never going to fulfill us. So at some point then we will come back to God in humility and say to God, actually, I've got this wrong, Lord. I've got this wrong again. My eyes weren't fixed on you. My eyes were fixed on the glitz and the glamour of life that doesn't offer fulfillment. You see, the story of the Old Testament is that leaders and nations and people would be close to God, and they would seek God, and then they would fall away. And then they would come back to God, and then they would fall away. And then they would come back to God, and they would fall away. We even read it, if you're following in Chronicles, we've read it recently. It says, doesn't it, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and will heal their land. How do we live in humility? We live in humility by trusting that what God has got for us is the right path. We must have faith that God will lead us in the best way to live. That is true for us individually, and that is true for us as a church. That we must believe and have faith that what God has got for us is the best, is the right path. And we also need to learn what temptations to avoid. In the Old Testament, they were drawn to idols and all sorts of different things. We looked at that recently. That idols are anything that gets in the way of our relationship with God. It's what we give our worth to. It's what we worship. It's what comes in the way of our worship with God. We're to put complete trust in the Lord and not deceive ourselves with vanity or lust. We must lean on the understanding and wisdom of God to show us the righteous path through prayer and meditation and fasting and those different kind of things. Therefore, we must humble and open our hearts and withdraw from the arrogance of our own ego. You see, we all have an ego. We all have our own blind spots and we all have our own egos. And our egos often get in the way of what God is trying to do. Gareth Southgate will walk his fans and his team and celebrate with his fans tonight, and he will go out humbly. Why? Because he knows that a kick, one miss, can change everything. It's theirs for the taking, but it's also possible that tonight it might not happen. And he knows that because he's been in that place. Because of the suffering that he's endured. Some of you are watching this and you are suffering. Your relationship with God is suffering. And we need to get back to that place where we humble ourselves and say, God, actually, we've sought after all sorts of different things, and it's not working for us. I want to encourage you to humble yourself and get back to that place, trusting in God, that what God has got for you, got for your life, for our church, for the church across the nation, that it's the right thing. You see, when we think it's the wrong thing, then we'll do anything to try and make it right. We'll work harder, we'll do this, we'll try this, we'll work in different directions, we'll make idols, we'll do anything. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter, having a smarter life. So I pray, there are two ways really that we can live in humility. Number one is that we keep inquiring of the Lord and asking God, God, what have you got for me? What have you got for me today? Trusting in God that God knows what's right. Two, we will find humility by doing things that maybe God doesn't require of us, putting our ego and our attention into things that are glitzy and glamorous and are attractive and sexy, but are not really going to do us any benefit. And then God will bring us back somehow to humble us, and we will have to come to that place. So guys, I want to encourage you, keep trusting in the Lord. Keep your eyes focused on him. Keep realizing that the plan and the purpose that God has got for you, individually, for us as a church, is the right plan and the right purpose. And our only response to that is that we walk in obedience to what he wants us to do. And I'm praying that for you. And I pray tonight also that England, this could be our night. See you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.